will gladly vote for Bernie, but I feel many college-educated whites in suburbs will not. Sanders will lose Senate, will stay Republican. Trump will have field day with Oppo on Bernie. Again, what is this Oppo? Like, I feel like at this point, if there was so much Oppo on Bernie Sanders, it would have come out already. Like, people, for example, Peter Dow, he is a guy who is viciously anti-Bernie in the 2016 cycle. He has drifted way to the left now, a Bernie Sanders supporter. He was kind of in charge of research. He worked on the Hillary Clinton campaign and everything. I can't really say the word, like virulent anti-Sanders guy in 2016 did Oppo research, and he has come out and said on Twitter, like, there's nothing there. Like, all that stuff, like, he has 3 houses. Like, that's about the best they got there. Yeah, for those frightened of Sanders' presidency, the most likely outcome will be nothing. His inability to work with his own party, let alone the other side, will likely result in paralysis. That is good news. So this is just the funny stuff of now. Just trying to calm things down. Please, 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 don't make me. It's like it is really, really funny stuff to watch. As this whole thing comes out. Like, do you see any kind of parallels here from Trump in 2016 to Bernie in 2020 here?
I see a lot of parallels, and the reason why is because in both circumstances, people had underestimated the potential of both candidates. I mean, in 2016, we see with Trump, everyone was like, he can't. Everyone thought Jeb Bush was going to win. I mean, I don't know if you remember those days when everyone was like, Jeb's going to win because both of his, his brother was president and his dad was president. He's got to win. I mean, he has the name recognition. He's got the money behind him. He's got everything. Okay. He is basically like what Biden was in the beginning of this race. Everyone was like, okay, that guy's going to have a blow-off win. It's going to be, we're not going to have a primary, is what a couple people on CNN were talking about as I was reading a couple articles not too long ago. He's going to have a blow-off primary.
It's really insane.
And now we're looking at the fact of the matter that we might not actually have a clear nominee by the convention in July, which would be quite interesting. But the parallels that I see here between Trump in 2016 and now, well, I mean, Trump also really fired up people, in 2016. I mean, he had the no BS type of campaign where he was really going to be advocating for things that were, well, a little bit different than what, may I say, than what the typical establishment Republicans were going for. Same thing with Bernie. Bernie is definitely arguably doing similar things as to what Trump was doing, which is he's really riling up people on the Democrat base that I would argue probably weren't really as riled up as they were 4 years ago, even with him, which is why I said, not too long ago in this show, I said that his growth really was exponential because, I mean, the fact that he really has been able to garnish a lot of support rather quickly. Well, yes, he's the only progressive in the race. I mean, look, there's only 3 really big moderates in the race. I mean, you got Biden, you got Buttigieg, and Bloomberg is, I mean, look, I spoke Klobuchar, but she really isn't that big in the race. I mean, she's polling like 4 or 5% nationally, so she's more of the low tier one. When she drops out, she won't make any sort of difference really in the race, in my opinion. So it's really a 3v1 race as of now. I mean, Buttigieg is really dropping as well with Bloomberg in the race, but
and like it's really really hard to see like who's going to stop Bernie Sanders right now. Like, I mean,
that's going to be really hard.
I can't see
for anyone, I think, because even the only person who I can see or circumstance that I can see Bernie getting stopped is if 3 of the moderates dropped out and we had one moderate and we didn't have we do have Warren still in the race. And the reason why Warren might be actually a good one to still have in the race in a circumstance of someone wanting to stop Bernie is because she will actually not only take some support from the moderate, but she'll take a little bit of support from Bernie. And while taking support from the moderate might not necessarily be beneficial, if in the circumstance she drops out, I don't really know if there would be necessarily enough support going towards Bernie or even the moderate, because at that point, I think people wouldn't even really be supporting Warren as we're seeing now. I mean, Warren really was doing pretty good. She was doing actually better than Bernie for a little bit part of this race, very, very small part of the race. And then really staying stagnant, and then Bernie just like had really big growth. But the only circumstance I can see really right now is if someone maybe, I mean, the only guy who I can probably see stopping Bernie is Biden. Or no, I can't see Bloomberg doing it because Bloomberg, I mean, I don't even like Bloomberg. I think Bloomberg is, I don't really trust him. I mean, he used to be a Republican. You have the stop and frisk fiasco with him. You have the thing now with these things with the allegations of women with sexual harassment that Warren really, I mean, she fried him in the debate. I mean, I don't know, that might just be me here, but I think that Warren really got under Mike's skin. I mean, he was rolling his eyes like he was having a rolling eye party on the stage. It was a little bit funny, actually.
Yeah. I mean, he was. I was only able to see an hour of that debate because I did have to go to bed a little bit on the earlier side for that night. But it was an absolute destruction for Mike Bloomberg there, and he even lost support with moderate Democrats. He just looked like he was just on the defense for his just predation when it comes to dealing with women. So for the NDAs, like that was really bad. I do want to get into this Nevada caucus today. Who's winning each group? And this is by Bernie. This is by order of magnitude. So of people ages 17 to 29, Bernie Sanders won by 54 points. People who prefer candidates who agree with you on issues, Bernie Sanders won by 42 points. Independents or something else. People who are independents or something else, Bernie Sanders won. Hispanic and Latino, he won by 34%. That's huge, especially when it comes to places like California and Texas, where there's going to be definitely a lot of Democrats who are Hispanic voting in that. People who support changing to a single government healthcare plan, which by the way, in all three states has been a surprising amount of people in the Democratic electorate. He won that group by 33%. Ages 30 to 44, he won by 33%. Very liberal, he won by 32. Other, he won by 30. People with their top issues, income inequality, he won by 22%. First-time caucus goers, he won by 22%. People with no college degree, men, he won by 21%. Women, he won by 13%. A top issue is healthcare, he won by 19 points. Decided before the last few days, he won by 18 points. He won union and non-union households. Women, as I said before, people with their top issues, climate change, he won. People who are somewhat liberal, he won among Democrats, college graduates, people ages 45 to 64, and white people and people who had attended previous caucuses. So like that gives you a percentage of the many, many people in many, many groups that Bernie Sanders won today. Joe Biden only won among black people by 12 points, people ages 65 and older, and those who oppose changing to a single government healthcare plan. So that kind of gives you the idea of what is going on here. So let's give you an idea. It's gone up 27%, reporting now 47.2 points for Bernie Sanders in this. It's just really an absolute blowout. From what we see, the delegate race so far. So as you can maybe be able to tell, we're having a little bit of problems with James. We do have him back now, but it really is a significant show of force. So, what do you think is going to be the next? How important is South Carolina for the success of Bernie Sanders' campaign? Like, how important is it that he do well there?
I think that South Carolina is going to be very slimly important. And I know that might shock some people here because I think that really what's going to have to happen, I think we're really going to have to see, I mean, for Bernie or for any candidate for that matter, is really what they do in the swing states, like in the swing states on Super Tuesday that are polling a little bit pretty close between two or three candidates. I mean, South Carolina, I think definitely can be important for Bernie. We'll definitely see how his black support is going since a large majority of the electorate there who vote in that election are African American. And so I think that definitely will be a good showing to see how Bernie is doing within that community, because it seems like that he's doing pretty good so far. But I think that really where it's going to be critical for Bernie is to see how he can do in states like Texas and more moderate states that typically wouldn't have a easy win for him. I mean, I haven't looked at any polls in Texas. I haven't looked at any polls in states like, Florida or Arizona or these type of states where, I would probably imagine someone like Biden or a moderate winning, or at least someone doing pretty good there and having a close election, maybe something similar to Iowa again. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think Buttigieg would actually do good again. I think Iowa was his high ground, and I think that was really it for him. I mean, because Iowa is mostly white, which is really his support. I mean, he has like
I think
1%.
He got up to 2% in the black polls today. On MSNBC, they were making fun of him that the black people that he got up in the podium behind him was his entire national black support. So it kind of shows you that's where he is. I do want to play this clip here of Chris Matthews over on MSNBC with this insane historical reference. Take a look.
The name of the game, it is pretty much over unless that changes. I was reading last night, Brian, I know you're a history guy too. I'm reading last night about the fall of France in the summer of 1940 and the general. It's over. Renault calls up Churchill and says, 1940. And the general, Renault, calls up Churchill and says, it's over. And Churchill said, how can it be? You got the greatest army in Europe. How can it be over? He said, it's over. So I had that suppressed feeling. I can't be as wild as Carville, but he is damn smart. And I think he's damn right on this one. Joy.
Yeah, so it's actually absolutely insane. So Chris Matthews on MSNBC and James Carville, Matthews today actually going so far as to compare Bernie Sanders winning the Iowa caucuses as equivalent to is equivalent to France falling to the Nazis. How could this happen? You guys had the best army France had the best army. How could this happen? But they just get a sense, this impending sense of doom that, it's over. There's nothing you can do about it. What does this media hysteria? And we'll play the James Carville clip in a moment, but it is really quite perfect to see all this freak out. Well, do you think this helps or kind of hurts Bernie Sanders' campaign?
The hysteria, from the media, I think is, I mean, for example, with that one lady who we had a couple of weeks ago that you showed the video of, that she voted for Bernie in New Hampshire because of MSNBC's negativity towards Bernie.
Yeah.
I think the media hysteria against Bernie, I think that it is just making people open their laptop, open their computer, look on their phone, and search up BernieSanders.com. And see what exactly he is looking for, because there are some people who come onto these news stations who are very, I wouldn't necessarily say they're very pro-Bernie, but they definitely don't really speak very 100% negatively about his campaign. And then you have some of the characters who come on and are like, no, this guy's horrible. He's a threat to this country. I've heard so many things now about it. I mean, you could probably write a book about how many things they've said about Bernie, that he's going to destroy the country. The stock market is going to have to shut down, and we're going to have to give out red slips to everyone who works and cleans the New York Stock Exchange. It's everything they say on there is you could write a whole quote book about. But getting back to the thing about will it help or hurt his campaign, I think that it honestly might possibly slightly help his campaign, because of the fact I think that some people will just pick up their phone and just search up what he actually stands for, because some people don't know who Bernie is. But also same thing with Buttigieg, and same thing with these low tier candidates like Klobuchar and Warren. The media does not really talk much about Buttigieg or those 2-3 other candidates that I just mentioned. They really just are now hammering Bernie quite a lot since he's winning. But I think that it's slightly going to help him out, because I think people are probably going to see for themselves and just look him up and see what he actually stands for.
Yeah, and I think that kind of antipathy that a lot of people have to the media is actually going to come in and help him pretty well too. But yeah, this is this James Carville clip that he has been going on and on about his crazy appearance on MSNBC. So here's a taste of what has been going on with him.
These are the kinds of facts that people have to be presented with. We've got to. I see that 2/3 of the Nevada Caucus goers really want to win the election. I don't know if us in the media are sufficiently telling people what are the risks that you're running by doing this. I think voters need to really be appraised of what's going on here. Hopefully these candidates have the skill and are able to do this. We got a week to go before South Carolina.